Statements and opinions made on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its affiliates.
And now, it's time to go where we haven't been before, and probably shouldn't be. A revelation of sorts? You are now entering the Nyelight Zone.
How you doing, listeners? It's 4/9/2012, so hold on to your hats and get ready for a reality check. This is The Shadow, and I've done radio before, but this is my really biggest debut out here. I want to thank everybody for making it happen. And what I'm here to do is, everybody wants to rag on the local yokels for all the problems, people in the public eye out here in the Nyelight Zone, and there's so much more to it than that. You got to go to the top of the food chain, really, kind of the head of the snake, if you will, or the top of the pyramid, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm also going to once in a while touch on all the stuff going around out here, and dumb as a stump perump, but I'll have listeners on and people that are running for various positions and whatnot if I can, and I'm waiting on a sidekick supposed to be coming up the road anytime. But what I'm going to do right now is to get everybody that's not up to snuff. I realize some of you people that listen to this show, this is like old hat and it might put you to sleep, but if you want to get on your computers and either Google or YouTube search HARP, and I'm not talking about the kind of thing that you play or the angels play. It's HAARP, Illuminati. That's ILUMINATI. Bilderberg. That's BILDERBERG. Bush, reptilian eyes. Chemtrails contain toxic mold. Pepsi, fetus. FEMA, death camps. And then Bohemian Grove, and I'm not talking about that Queen song. Okay, BOHEMIAN Grove. Now the reason why I'm throwing these keywords at you is I don't want you to just take my word for all this stuff. I could be just some yo-yo that got hit on his head or drank too much fluorinated water or something, and I really don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to be your own critic and whatever, and delve around out there and search for the facts. Now, I get a lot of my stuff, I have to say, off of Infowars.com. David Icke, that's ICKE. That's another one you're going to want to check out. Oh, one last thing. Google cosmic vampires. All right, so who are the Illuminati, people want to know. And a lot of people laugh about it. They don't even want to realize that it's a real thing, or it's so far over their heads that it makes their heads hurt, and they have to go back and drink some more fluorinated water and some Pepsi with that fetus juice in it, because, reality is just too much for some people. Well, basically, the Illuminati have been around for so long that it's hard to really trace them back, but they can be traced back to the Egyptian times. Now, that dollar bill, if you've even got one left in your pocket after your job went to China and everything else, get one of those dollar bills out and look on the back of it, and you're going to see a pyramid with an eye on it that hasn't quite set there, on the pyramid, and you're going to see some lettering that, of course, it's written, so you're not going to understand what it is unless you know what language it's written in, but it's basically means one world order. And the reason why the pyramid eye is not yet set on that capstone, they call it, is because the work was yet to be done, but it was in planning. And that 1776 was when they really started pushing for this one world order. Now, they've tried many times. The Romans, the Greeks, Hitler, and all these other bozos have tried for this one world government, one world currency, but we've never been closer to it than right now with Obama and Hillary Clinton and all these other fascists. Now, this is just my opinion, of course, and it doesn't really always reflect the station's opinion on things, but like I said, don't take my word for it. Start Googling stuff like, Pepsi fetus. Now, Obama agency. Now, I'm getting this off of LifestyleNews.com. Obama agency rules Pepsi use of cells derived from aborted fetus ordinary business. I mean, can you believe this? Would you really want to be drinking Pepsi that's got aborted fetus cells, some kind of derivative from it? I mean, this is crazy. Am I the only one out here that thinks this is insane? What it is the Illuminati is basically a cult, and they have a network like you wouldn't believe, and a lot of it starts at the top of the Catholic Church, like the Pope, and there is some Freemasonry involved, and I'm not ragging on the people at the bottom of the rung, like the Shriners and all these people that are doing good, but you have to understand, 80% of that money that's getting rounded up through the Catholic Church, through the various religions out there, you want to talk about Mormonism and all that other jazz, 80% of that money at least is getting funneled up to the top, and they're using it to do bad things. And you might have a hard time grasping all this because they're so compartmentalized that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, meaning Mormons might rag on Catholics and vice versa, but if you really looked at the top of the ladder, the fat cats that are at the top of it are all in the same gang, if you will, or cult, really. And a lot of them get together once or twice a year, and they go to Bohemian Grove. And you wonder what they're doing at Bohemian Grove. Well, they're doing their little Illuminati sun god rituals, and what it is it's Satanism. It all boils down to Satanism. And the biggest trick the devil ever played on anybody was that he wasn't real. That people just think, oh, it's a big joke, that, there's God and there's Satan or there's a creator and a destroyer. But these guys believe it. Check out Reagan's been seen at Bohemian Grove, Nixon, many of the presidents all go out there and hang out, and they have their little rituals, and they do things that people wouldn't even believe. A lot of the British royalty has their own kind of thing going on in their country, and you'd be amazed that over half of the adopted kids in British royalty end up disappearing or dying, and they wonder where all these kids go. Well, a lot of them get sacrificed in these rituals. Now, you already think I'm nuts, about half of you, and that's fine with me. Why don't you Google Bush Aleister Crowley, get up on YouTube, and get up on Google, and Google Bush Aleister Crowley. Now, the Illuminati are really big in the pagan holidays. Now, Easter, Christmas, I mean, I could go on and on. All these holidays are derived from pagan holidays, and they're big on sex rituals, mating on specific dates, specific times, all this weirdo stuff. And you think I'm a weirdo for talking about it, probably. Some of you know that I know what I'm talking about. But the bottom line is these people at the top of the rung that are running the world, these government agencies, these corporations, these politicians, they're all in this little club, and it's a secret club. They're sworn to secrecy, not to talk about what they do to the little peons like us, because if we actually all realized what they were doing, we would well, you fill in the blank. I don't want to get too overboard here, but they wouldn't be in this position of power anymore. It's really sick to even think about what they're doing. And here's a little tidbit. Why is the Department of Homeland Security buying 450 million rounds of 40 caliber high performance ammunition? Why don't you Google that one? Well, the reason why they are, in my opinion, of course, and it's only my opinion, is that people are waking up to all this garbage. They know about the FEMA death camps. They remember World War II history where, they were going to start killing the Jews, and then they were going to pick another race to go kill, and right on down the line until it was just like, you had a group of slaves, and you had these 13 families, the bloodline of 13. That's another one to Google, the bloodline of 13. All right, so what it is, they're very race or genetic race-oriented, meaning there's a group of about 13 families out there, super rich, okay? They've got all the money and all the power they want, but it's just not enough. They don't breed outside their bloodlines, and people kind of think that's crazy, and they kind of wonder why they don't breed outside their bloodlines. Have you ever heard of the Blue Bloods? Well, why are they called the Blue Bloods? Well, it's a British, and when you say British, there's English and there's British. British is a mix of German and English, and that's a whole other story I don't want to get into, but the bottom line is Blue Bloods are called Blue Bloods because honestly, if you cut them, their blood, it would be a bluish tint. Now, most people, I'd say about 90-95% of their population, you cut them and their blood's red. Now, that's iron-based blood. Blue Bloods are copper-based blood. In actuality, they've kept so close to their bloodline throughout the centuries that they don't even, their blood makeup is different than ours. And the bottom line is they have a hard time even breeding with the average, I want to call us all a bunch of slaves, the average slaves, and they're pushed not to breed with us. And the bottom line is they keep their bloodlines intact because they've got this real twisted sense of genetics and the fact that like they are better than us and we're nothing but useless eaters to them. We're either a tax dollar, a way to make them money, or we're just like a bug to step on. And the thing of it is we're all starting to wake up to it. So now this is why they've got the FEMA camps rolling. They're spraying chemtrails on us to make us sick, mental issues, dumb us down. They're putting the fluoride in the water, the mercury in the fillings, giving us root canals. Oh, that's another one. Google root canals cause cancer. I'm living proof of that. What root canals can do to people. All these medical procedures that get the seal of approval, and if you do some of the research on like mercury fillings, I mean, like any fool knows that mercury's bad for you, but they used to call them silver fillings, and they didn't tell you the other half was mercury. Well, they're finding out now, undeniable proof that that's a lot of the reason between the mental illnesses, people getting ADHD, and all these other organ complications, cancers, because they're sticking mercury fillings in everybody except the rich and the dentists. How many dentists have you seen with mercury fillings? You don't see it. But yet it's perfectly okay for you and me to get them. There's so many ways and avenues that they're using to curb the population because, quite honestly, with technology the way we've got it, they don't need so many little slaves and little ants running around or useless eaters, as they call them. They want to knock the useless eaters down to the point where they've got about 500,000, give or take, of us running around shining their boots and wiping their toilets down, and then the rest of us, they just want dead. And people have a hard time believing this, but as as the radio show goes on, I'll start putting my money where my mouth is. But for right now, like I said, I mean, just go to Infowars.com or go to David Icke's website and spend a few days running around on there. Now, Alex Jones, I got a report, is talking about Prozac. Now, I know for a fact that nearly 40% of the women in America are on Prozac. But did you know that Prozac has the compound, what makes it a solid pill? They've also put about 50% of fluoride in the pill. So they're not they're telling, oh, here's some Prozac, which is bad enough to take in the first place. But then they're putting fluoride in the Prozac to double whammo you. So if you're not getting enough fluoride in the water to give you cancer and all the other fun things they love to give you, and then, once you get cancer, then they tell you, oh, have some chemotherapy. Oh, that's great. That's like saying, I've got a pimple on my face, so why don't you just get a chainsaw out and cut my head off? So they're putting, they're pushing Prozac on all these women, and, not just women, and they're putting enough fluoride in it. And I'm not just talking about, is fluoride bad enough? We're talking about, like, fluoride for China that's been, like, in a drum next to, like, radiation and toxic waste and all this stuff. So you're getting whacked every which way you go. You can't even go down to the grocery store without getting a dose of death. And you want to research milk right now. Oh, my God. It's not bad enough that they're putting hormones in it. It's not bad enough that they're pumping it full of antibiotics, which is just fungus. And if anybody knew about fungus is a toxin. Adolf Hitler was using T2 toxin at the end of the war because he couldn't get the scientists to go with the nuclear bomb, so he was using the next best thing. So they're pumping it through all these toxins, and then get this. After Fukushima, the cows are pumping out milk with 2,000 times, yeah, that's right, 2,000 times the tolerable limit of radiation. So what is the Obama administration? I like to call him Obama. It's not my New York accent. The Obama administration, instead of pulling all the milk off the shelves and taking the cows out and shooting them, no, they just up what they consider the upper tolerable level of radiation exposure. So keep drinking your milk, yo. Obama says it's jiggy. I mean, are you kidding me? 2,000 times the tolerable limit of radiation in the milk, and instead of pulling it off the shelves, we just raise the level. The Food and Drug Administration's a joke, folks. I wouldn't listen to anything they had to say. In fact, I can't remember the last time I drank milk, and I don't want to drink milk anymore because I don't like glowing in the dark. Anyways, on to the next agenda. If there's anybody that wants to ask questions or inquire or whatnot, or somehow contact me, now you know the main website's prumpradio.com. Just go to that, send an email to my station manager, and he'll pass things back and forth to me. And if it's a good question or something, I'll try and answer it. The reason why I'm not live, well, quite honestly, I've got enough death threats as it is. Not that I care. I mean, they'd just be doing me a favor. I know where I'm going after this, and I know where they're going. But the bottom line is I don't want to be live because I don't want to put out when I'm doing this show and whatnot for the time being. So if you really want to get into contact with me, I apologize that you can't call in live. I do miss that aspect of radio. But then, I used to get the nut jobs that used to use profanity and stuff when I was in college, and then I'd get spanked by my station manager anyways for even answering the phone. So in a way, it's kind of a good thing. Okay, so what I am doing right now, I'm on Ike's site. I'm just delving around, not trying to be like, what do you call that, pilfering all this stuff, but I'm just trying to look at some of the wild things to talk about here. Now, there's so much radiation that got emitted from Fukushima that, of course, they're covering it up. They're just telling you, don't worry about it and everything. But I want to tell everybody out there that first-hand knowledge is Fukushima was a planned thing. It wasn't just some accident, okay? There was a lot of weird activity the week before it all hit the fan in a specific area of Japan. There were Japanese people calling like their version of 911 and seeing these weird energy anomalies and weird visual things that they saw that didn't make sense in the specific areas. And in my opinion, what it was Japan wants nothing to do with the New World Order, okay? They want nothing to do with the Illuminati, endless wars, famine, and all this stuff. They just want a bustling economy and all that good stuff. Well, what I've researched in my own time is that there came a time when the Illuminati guys, some of these, I want to just call them wannabe mafia bullies, nothing against the mafia, but these bullies came in from the Illuminati and said, hey, you're either going to join us or you're going to pay us a bunch of money or you're going to wish you did. Well, they just said, no, we're not going to, and then the next thing you know, a few weeks later, we got Fukushima. And these nuclear power plants, this is just proof of how bad nuclear power plants are. Okay, so with HAARP, you can create an earthquake or a tornado or so many other things and try proving it. I mean, come on, try proving this whole HAARP thing happens unless you've got the kind of scientific equipment to do it. And even then, they're going to call you a whack job, or they're going to discredit you, or you're just going to disappear. They'll take your license or whatever degree you had on the wall if you even bring it up. But, this is my opinion, and take my word for it. I'm going to offer more evidence to it. And quite honestly, the evidence is all on DavidIkey.com or InfoWars, and it's not just them saying it. But the bottom line is, we had this horrendous thing happen in Fukushima. The reactors went into the what you might want to call like a meltdown mode, where all this radiation was leaked out. Now, this is just one nuclear power plant. Could you imagine what's going to happen when they start pulling this shenanigans in the United States? You know how many nuclear power plants we have out here and all around the world? And just this one in Japan, nonetheless, created enough radiation getting blown through the air, getting put into the water to wreak havoc. I mean, I don't even want to get into the seafood, what it's done to the seafood. We get a lot of our seafood from the oceans that are right now toxic, and it's screwing up the ecosystem and everything else. Now, people might want to say, well, if this is all real, if they're doing these chemtrails, this radiation, and all these, throwing all these positive ions out into the planet, then, and they're killing all these people off and this and that, well, isn't it affecting them? And I asked myself that same question, and the more research I did was realizing that they're almost a different species. I say them, I mean the Illuminati, this bloodline at 13. They're such a different species from us, and they've kept so much among their bloodline that positive ions are good for them, whereas negative ions are good for the rest of us. And by creating an environment rich in positive ions, it's doing them good and killing us, which is exactly what they want. And this sounds crazy until you start getting into the science part of it. Now, people are going, what is positive ions? What is negative ions? Google it. Research it. What is it? Basically, okay, a toxin. Toxin is as a toxin does. You can talk to a toxicologist. I got a friend named Dr. Croft that broke it down to me. Basically, every toxin breaks down to a positive ion, and it has a different level of, you want to say, charge or detrimentalism to it. Let's just say T2 toxin, which is mold toxin. Let's just say it has a positive charge of 12. Radiation, there's different levels of radiation. Well, let's just say radiation has a positive charge of 50. Okay, and let's say chemtrails have a positive charge of 7. Well, when you add all this stuff up and you put it all together, it's what's causing all the cancer, all the illnesses on our end. And then guys like Dick Cheney that are reptilian Illuminati scumbags, in my opinion, it's good for them. It's like, I mean, every time that guy's got a heart problem, he goes to some place and he comes out, looking better than he did before. This all sounds crazy, folks, but what you've got to remember is, since the day they've been sticking in front of a television, a radio, or sticking a magazine or a book in your face, it's all the BS that they wanted you to buy into. And once you start pulling back and realizing that you can cure cancer with baking soda and avoiding toxin exposure, and alkalinizing your body and getting away from GMO food with Roundup in it. Do you know that GMO food is sprayed like 20 times at least with Roundup and mercury and all this other stuff before it even hits your teeth? I mean, who wants to eat that stuff? And then you realize everybody that gets cancer, they think it's a death sentence. I can't tell you how many people I know that changed their diet. They went to an alkaline diet. They started getting into like Azaic tea, which was something that the Ojibwa Native Americans used to give people to heal. Start talking about using baking soda and water 2 to 3 times a week, 2 to 3 tablespoons. I know people that had 3 forms of cancer and they don't have cancer anymore. And then they go to the doctor and the doctor's looking at them like, what are you, cheating on me? You don't have cancer anymore. What happened? And then they tell them, well, I changed my diet and I started doing this and doing that and using baking soda and water 2 or 3 times a week. And they start laughing at you like you're a lunatic. Well, I really think you're a lunatic if you buy into the whole medical system. I really think you're a lunatic if you listen to Obama and the Food and Drug Administration when they tell you that the 2,000 times the upper tolerable limit of radiation in milk is cool to drink, and just keep drinking your Ovaltine, And I think you're a lunatic if you're going to drink Pepsi that's got derived fetal cell embryos in it. I mean, I just think that's insane. And if you buy along with what I feel, well, great. I'm glad you came to the right place, and I hope we can talk more about a lot of this stuff and educate ourselves. And if there's anybody out there that's got some stuff they want to throw at me to educate me or for me to talk about, feel free to just contact the station. And we're going to take a little break right now, and I'm going to get some more water in me, and we're going to go from there. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Talk Radio of Pahrump, Pahrump's information source.
Support for Talk Radio of Pahrump is provided by Nina, Psychic to the Stars. 50 years of experience helping in matters of life, such as love, marriage, business, addictions, reuniting loved ones, and removal of spells. Located in Pahrump at 1591 East Highway 372, just west of Highway 160. Details available at 727-8036. That's 727-8036.
Hi, this is Craig Rowland. I host the Kiwanis Community Corner every Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m. here on Talk Radio with Pahrump. The show features a spokesperson from a different non-profit organization each week. We talk about who they are, how they serve our community, and what service projects and fundraisers they're involved in. So stay up on the services available in our community by logging on to PahrumPradio.com and listening to Kiwanis Community Corner, Monday nights from 7 to 8 p.m.
All statements heard on Talk Radio of Pahrump are that of the program's host, co-host, guest, and callers alone, and are not necessarily those of this station or its affiliates.
Attention veterans, can you stand the heat? Consider becoming a BLM Southern Nevada Wildland Firefighter. We have job opportunities for veterans just like you. Nevada Wildland Firefighters are offered competitive pay, a chance to live and work in Las Vegas, work outdoors, and PT on the clock. All Wildland Firefighters receive paid leave and training, travel throughout the U.S., and is free to Corps. For more information about Nevada Wildland Firefighters, email BLM at nevadaveteranshandcrew@blm.gov.
Bringing originality and creativity to Pahrump Valley's otherwise drab broadcast wasteland, this is Pahrump Radio, KPAH.com.
All right, we're back. This is a shadow. And it's kind of tough without my sidekick here. I know he's running a little late, but I just wanted to let everybody know. I just kind of like jumped right in the water without putting my Speedos on and explaining why I'm talking about what I'm talking about. And I'm really just trying to enlighten the public about what's really going on, because you're not getting the truth on the real news stations. They call them real news stations. You're not getting the truth on the television. You're not getting the truth on most radio stations. You're just getting a bunch of BS. You know, they keep telling you, keep paying your taxes, keep working yourself to death, keep drinking your milk, and keep sniffing that chemtrail-laden air, and just, you know, get cancer and die and go broke doing it. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to expose the truth of what's going on in the world, the population control, the corporate fascism that's going on, corporate socialism, whatever you want to call it, how they're oppressing us and just feeding us a line of bull. But now my sidekick's here, so we're gonna give him a little intro. So what do you want to call yourself today? Late for dinner? Late for lunch?
You can call me the Terminator today.
The Terminator today. All right, I like that. So, why don't you give yourself a little bit of the time on the mic? What do you want to talk about? What's going on locally here?
I just came from the Danny Robbins hearing.
Okay.
It was a bail hearing. Judge Lane wouldn't make a decision in front of because there was a lot of people in the court. He did that to me with the Stephanie Lopez case, because I had 20 to 30 people in the courtroom, and he actually called then the peanut gallery when during my case with Stephanie Lopez, and I knew he was going to dismiss it. I expected that. You're not going to get any kind of justice here if you're not on the same page with the corruption.
Right.
So today, with the Danny Robbins case, he said he's going to let them know in a couple of days, so I would think that he's not going to set bail.
Now, I personally know Danny Robbins from my experience with the kangaroo court system of Lehigh County, or better known as the Nyelight Zone, which is, you know, the theme of this whole show, the name of the show. Danny Robbins is a good guy. He just had a bad experience, of wrong place at the wrong time and whatnot, and now he's getting railroaded like just about anybody else that isn't in the good old boys clique in this town. So unfortunately, Danny's in a precarious position, and I'm out there praying for him, and I just hope that justice prevails and everything ends up okay for him, because he's a good guy. He really is. But what else we got going on here? More crazy stuff. I heard Coonsey might be the next Supreme Court judge or something like that.
I think somebody was playing a joke on that.
Hopefully that was an April Fool's joke.
I think somebody is actually saying that it was an April Fool's joke.
Oh,
because
God.
You want to talk about tragedy. Brian Coonsey is a tragedy.
Yeah, in my opinion too, he's a real tragedy. I'm living proof of how bad they can invent something on somebody to nail him to the cross and deny him NRS code and NRS law and anything constitutional. He's totally a non-constitutionalist.
Yeah, and he, we actually, friends of mine have him on tape when he was running for his position, and he said that he would look into a grand jury, and then after he got elected, he says, we don't need one. He's the type of politician that will say anything he has to say to get elected. I was here the other night talking about things, and I turned around and said, I am running for office. I will not, change my ways of what I'm running on to get a vote.
Right.
The people either agree with what I'm running on and vote for me, and if they disagree, they don't vote for me. But I'm not going to tell two different crowds two different things, because when I get elected, it would turn around and somebody's going to be mad at me.
Right.
And you could see at the town board meetings how people are enraged on how people that they thought they were friends and community-minded have changed their opinion and became part of the problem.
As soon as they got their feet in the door, they just said, I'm in now. What are you going to do for the next 2 to 4 years?
Right, and that's not right, and that's why I always say, if you don't know the candidates, pass that up on your vote. Okay, you're better off voting for only the ones that you know and you heard, and
their track record. What did they do in the past? You got to be your own best researcher. It's like Ron Paul. I have to use him as an example. If you look at his track record, he backs up what he says he's going to do with what he's done in the past. Whereas all these other clowns that are running for president are just trying to say whatever they can to weasel you into voting for him, like Obama. Obama says, I'll have the wars all over with, and we'll have all our troops home within, 6 months or some garbage?
I think it was supposed to be 2011.
Yeah.
By the end of 2011.
So how's that going, Obama? And then we've got Mitt Romney, who he's just a cultist. The guy owns Staples, and all he is another corporate fascist puppet. Wants to come in and do the same as usual. Either one of these guys get in, God help us all. And if you look at their track records, it's like you've been saying. They're going to say whatever they can do to get in and BS you, and then when it comes down to it, where are you going?
They do whatever they want.
They do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And God forbid some of the bozos we got in town that are already in power, staying in power, in my opinion. We got to start rolling some of these people out. Like when I was in jail, they called it rolling them out of the cell. If you got somebody that didn't take a shower, they were scuzzy, or they were just a scumbag, you rolled them out of the cell block. Well, we need to roll some of these people out of the cell block here, because all they're doing is rolling over and playing dead, ignoring the Constitution, doing whatever they want to do behind the scenes. Some of these people are so slimy, flies wouldn't lay eggs on them. And I don't want to name too many names, but anybody that lives in the Nyelight zone knows exactly who I'm talking about.
Well, one of the problems is you have to really listen to how people say things. Okay, like just at one of the town board meetings locally, when they were talking about Kohlbarger's contract, town manager's contract, they were saying, we know it's stressful for him, to wonder if he's going to have a job or not. You know what? That's nonsense. That's the kind of work he has. He's a contract worker.
Right.
Nobody's guaranteed a 20-year job. I mean, look at what Lorraine Murray did with the fire chief. She gave him a 5-year contract, automatic renewable for 20 years. So he doesn't even have to negotiate his 5-year contract for 20 years. Now, who gets a contract for 20 years? I mean, they get them But doesn't that sound, to me that sounds like, okay, listen, we're going to give you a contract, and you're 45 years old, and we're going to guarantee you a job until you're 65, so you can get your PERS, your state
your golden parachute,
and you're going to get your Social Security, and you're going to play ball with us. Let's just say it how it is. Let's read between the lines. My husband's in charge of the firefighters union, and if you play ball with him, I'm going to make sure you get paid for 20 years. Right. Let's put the cards on the table. That's how things are negotiated. Okay, you either negotiate it with common sense, or you negotiate it to manipulate things to work out the way you want.
And we're over $500,000 in the hole.
Right. When I ran for town board in 2010. I said that the firefighters union was going to bankrupt this town. Here we are 2 years later, because we had certain people try to discredit me, and they did a good job at it.
Same here.
They turn around, and I didn't get elected. And if the people believe them over me, that's I guess I didn't get my point across. But look at it. We are $500,000 in a hole because of the ambulance service.
You're looking like Nostradamus right now. You predicted it.
Right. And now what's going to happen is they just bought 3 more ambulances. They only were supposed to buy 2, but they crashed another ambulance. One of the drivers driving the ambulance from the firefighters union went through a stop sign, crashed another ambulance. It's going to be tied up for a year to 18 months for investigation. So what do? They don't care about you. We're going to spend more of your tax dollars. We're going to buy a 3rd ambulance, okay, and see what happens from there. This is out of control. The union of protecting bad behavior. Did this person get suspended without pay? Did he get written up so if it happens again, they're blowing engines in vehicles? Nobody, the chauffeur of that vehicle is responsible for the engine, checking the fluids, making sure everything's working right before you just turn the key and take off. There's no accountability. And when there's no accountability or transparency, and what I mean by transparency, when you go to try to get some information, they don't give it to you.
Oh, they stonewall you.
Right.
They stonewall you.
Now, if they were on the up and up, if I was in there and I was running things, and I was doing everything on the up and up, I wouldn't have a problem showing people what's going on.
Right.
When you hide something, that means you have something to hide.
Right. And it means you're not on the up and up, and you're getting in the scandalous area.
Right, because if people really knew what was going on, they'd be outraged. They wouldn't be able to sleep.
Right.
Okay, this is a horror show going on here. And it's a shame. When I came here, I always say the same thing over and over again. I'm like Ron Paul in that. I do not change what I talk about, okay, because the problems have not been corrected yet. I came here. This was the fastest growing rural community in the United States for 4 to 5 straight years. As soon as they started putting all these rules and regulations in place, we're going down the drain. You cannot blame all of this on the economy.
No.
Because when the economy is bad like this, the people from the big cities should be running to places like Pahrump.
Buying up the cheap land and building homes and retirement homes and all that other stuff.
And speaking about retirement, all they keep trying to do is bring more and more businesses here. I look at it this way. If you have 10 restaurants in town, and there's $1,000 to be spent, and it was equally divided, everybody'd make $100. Well, if you bring another 10 restaurants in, the people that were getting 100 are now getting 50. They weren't making money at 100, and now what's going to happen? You're bringing people in, you're getting your quick bucks up front, you get your license fees, and you're getting all of that.
That extortion fee, that license extortion fee.
And let me tell you something. A license fee is extortion. They keep Al Balakwe used to say, and let me tell you something. I know Al, all right, on a personal basis, and as a person not working for the town, he's a good person, but he got caught up in that whole thing trying to save his job. A license fee is just a tax, and they create this fee or tax to give the town more money and more control. They pay more money out to get that license fee than they collect. So what are they doing now? They're going to raise that. And because Harley put in, if you have more people, well, if you got 100 workers, you should pay more. So your saying that because you have a good business, you should pay more. That's extortion. The biggest extortionists there are in this country is the IRS. Why I say that is, if you don't pay, you have some bad consequences. They could seize all your money. They could lock down on your property.
Throw you in jail.
They could throw you in jail. That's extortion. When you are told to do something and you don't do it, and there's bad consequences, that's extortion. That's like the mafia, okay?
Only worse.
It's worse because the mafia, they just split your head open, they'll kill you. These people will split your head open, kill you, and take all your stuff away from you.
Or worse yet, throw you in jail and feed you all that garbage food, and you wish you were dead.
Right. We have more people in jail in this country than the entire population of Scotland.
We got more people in jail in this country than some countries combined.
Oh, and I'm not what do you call it? And don't get me wrong, I'm far from being liberal. We have jails for a reason. There's some really bad people that belong in there.
Right.
And
a lot of them are in positions of power, and there's no way they're going to get sent there.
I think they should have a jail just for politicians.
For politicians and CEOs and corporate scumbags.
They
abortion and cockroach stew.
Speaking about people who rip people off, they tell that whole story about Bernie Madoff. Yeah. And that was a perfect name because he made off with a lot of cash.
Made off with a lot of cash. Yeah, he did.
But look at Howard Cosine. He is a guy who was a senator, a U.S. senator. He spent $64 million of his own money to become a senator. What do they make, $200,000 a year?
Yeah.
And then he became governor of New Jersey. Our wonderful president who went there to New Jersey 3 times or 4 times to promote him to become governor again against Chris Christie, and it didn't work. The people smelled the rat. Now look at what's happening with Cosine now. His company ripped off over $1 billion, not $1 million, $1 billion at least of people's money, and he's saying he don't know where it is.
See, if you rip off a loaf of bread down there at Walmart, you get charged with burglary now, I found out. But if you steal about a couple $1 billion, you not only get a kickback, but then some other company that's bigger than the one that you showed how to do it wants to hire you next time around.
Oh, look at Solyndra. This is a solar energy company that got $500 million. Was it million or billion?
I'm not even sure.
Okay, it was a ridiculous amount of money. They go bankrupt. These people were promoted by our president and his administration. They went bankrupt. Nobody knows where the money is, and nobody's in trouble. Nobody's going to jail. What's going on here? Are we just saps? Like I always turn around and say, the citizens of this country becoming hamsters that turn the wheel.
Right.
They use you until you can't run and turn that wheel anymore, and they throw you to the dogs and wolves and turn around and throw somebody else in there and make you spin the wheel. Let me tell you something. We're borderline slavery here. If we didn't have a constitution, we'd be living in the gulag.
And they're working on getting rid of that. I mean, what's that bill that they just passed, or they're working on passing that, line you up.
Preparation for everybody? Yeah, Preparation H for everybody.
Yeah,
get ready.
Preparation H bill.
Yeah, the bill, it comes with pieces of rope so you can tie your wrist to your ankle.
Yeah, basically, under this new bill, anybody can be considered a terrorist, an enemy of the state. They can line you up and shoot you out in the street if they want to. You can disappear. You don't get a lawyer anymore. You don't get any rights. You're just considered you can be considered a terrorist right now, and I'm having a brain flagellation. What's the name of that? Indefinite detention bill. There we go.
Yeah, right.
I mean, indefinite detention bill. Well, it's the craziest thing I've ever heard. It shreds the Constitution. You don't have any rights anymore. Forget the ACLU and all that other jazz. Basically, they can find any reason to call you a terrorist. Let's say you don't like our current president. Let's say you've got 500 gallons of water stored. Do you know right now that they're going through their little Department of Homeland Nazi bunch that they got going on. They're running around going to churches. They're going around to places like the Salvation Army, and they're going, we want a list of everybody that's stocking up on food. They want a list of everybody. Record scratch, did you hear that? A list of everybody that's stocking up on food. And why? Because you could be considered a terrorist if you're stocking up on food. Ask yourself why.
Look at what they did in the state of Georgia. There was a person, he was growing vegetables in his garden, and he was distributing to his neighbors and people that were homeless so they would have some food. They shut him down. You're not allowed to grow in Georgia. I don't know if it was just one county or whatever, but he's not allowed to grow his garden anymore to distribute food to the general public for free. He's not allowed to do that. And let me tell you, you know how they're going to get you? They're going to turn neighbor against neighbor by starving you. Okay? When your need of food because your lack of money, they'll turn around and say, well, do you know anything about your neighbor? What does Anthony Greco do? Your neighbor's with him. What does he do over there? You know, and if you tell us what we want to hear, we'll give you this block of cheese or something like that. So
reminds me of Nazi Germany.
It could even become the point of friends and family turning on each other because they're starving. Okay? And I hope I never see that. I just hope what I'm talking about never happens. I sit down and talk to my friends and say, you know what, I'm only looking for another 10 years of freedom. Okay, by that time I'll be 66 years old, and because I really don't want to live in a society that's going to feed on each other. I just don't want it.
Like that movie you were talking about, right?
Soylent Green.
Soylent Green.
I told you about that.
Yeah, just throw that up in the air a little bit.
Yeah, I had started talking to some people about that the other night when they brought up the BLM and they're rounding up the horses and everything. And it's a movie that people should see, and it's interesting but very sad. If you really see what it's all about, it's a very sad movie. It's educational and sad, and the movie is about 30, 35 years old. But, man, if you look at it, a lot of things click in today.
Right. About the starvation, about
they're controlling the people through hunger,
euthanasia. They're euthanizing people in their own way.
Right. They were allowing people that didn't want to live like that anymore. They just allowed them to euthanize themselves. You know, to go to a place to be euthanized. And you know what? That's I'm not the most religious person in the world. I am a spiritual person. Through life experience, the things I have seen and happened makes me a very spiritual person. There is a place that we are after this life. It's probably a better place.
Well, for the good guys it is.
Yeah. I always tease everybody and say, you know, when I die, they're going to be yelling from down there saying, throw another log on the fire. He's on his way down.
Yeah, right.
So, because I definitely go against the grain. I'm not in lockstep with anybody that tries to control anybody. If people are misinforming other people, I don't think that's right, especially when you have government officials as far down as, listen, our town board, I don't think there's anything, I don't want to say lower because I'm not trying to say it's a bad situation, but it's not that important. The town board's not that important. They're making themselves very important, and they're spending money like it's okay. They wouldn't be spending their money like that.
Okay, yeah, and basically, aren't we over $600,000 in the red due to salaries? As far as all these,
that's county. That's not talking about the town being $500,000 in the red.
Right.
And if they're telling you that, it's probably a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
You know, people need to listen to what the county and the town auditor has to say. I've talked to him 2 years ago. He wasn't allowed to tell me anything, but he could answer questions, and I asked him the right questions. And we're going in a bad direction here, a very bad direction. Now, talking about, I had gotten on the thing about businesses. You know what? You want to bring people to this town? You go to big cities, to retirement communities where people are getting ready to retire. Where, like in New York, where I come from, the houses, the value went down, but they're still $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes. They can sell their home there, pay off whatever mortgage they have, come here, buy a really nice house for $50,000 to $100,000,
right,
have cash, and what does that do? We don't have to supply them with jobs because they have a steady income. The check gets mailed to them.
Right.
They're put right in their account. What do? They need goods and services.
Exactly.
They need to go to restaurants. They need to go to our businesses that are here. Now what happens is, instead of people being laid off or dropped down to 24 or 32 hours a week, the business is making more money because they have more customers. So instead of bringing more business, you bring more customers. Now that you have more customers, people be working on a full-time basis. The people that are working on a full-time basis start spending more money again. Now we could go and get more businesses in here. Let the progression work.
Right.
Okay? That's what you do.
Sounds good. And on a final note, just for a little scholastic book check, a little book reading, why don't you guys research Bloodlines of the Illuminati? Because I want to get everybody up to snuff, and I don't have time to teach the class all the time. I'm just throwing some of this stuff up there for the real brainiacs. And we're about ready to wrap this up. I just want to thank everybody out there in radio land and internet land for tuning into the show. This was our first roll with it, so hopefully we did all right. We got like a B- for the day. I want to thank my good friend and compadre over here. That he's calling himself the Terminator for now, and I'm the Shadow because I don't want anybody to know who I am because I got enough death threats in this town as it is, and we got about 2 minutes left. So what I want to tell everybody is, if you got questions, concerns, praises, insults, give him an email down there at the station manager level, and he'll rattle them off to me, and I'll try and have something in the show where either the last 5 minutes of the show or so, I'll read off, listeners' questions, listeners' concerns, or if somebody wants me to, talk about something else that's going on that I'm not bringing up, because I try and throw a lot of stuff out there, and so does my sidekick. But if there's something we're not touching on, even if it's local news, a lot of people were griping about that Bob Beckett thing about him getting a lollipop and a fat paycheck out of his whole scandal. There's a lot of outrage about that. We didn't even touch upon that today because we had so much else going on. But just stuff like that. If there's something you want us to bring up, that's why we're here. We're trying to go global and reach out to educate about the global issues, but we're not going to ignore the local yokel dumb as a stump stuff. So we're going to wrap it up. Thanks and God bless, and keep fighting a good fight, and read the Constitution sometimes. It's a really good thing to get into.
Have a good night, and make sure you vote.
Yep.
Statements and opinions made on the preceding program are not necessarily those of this station or its affiliates.